It seemed that back-to-back national championships should garner you some respect from people that might say, hey, we've doubted them before, and all Georgia has done is, I don't know, win everything at
All
every
the
time.
things.
All the games,
Yep.
all the championships.
Correct.
With a quarterback that nobody believed in and thought was awful the entire time,
Sure.
and with a defense that held people down. What if I was to tell you that still after 2 years of Kirby dominance, people don't learn, Daniel, and the
People don't want
odds of
anything about it.
actually winning the SEC as well as national championships still low for Georgia. We're going to talk about that next. Locked On Bulldogs.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Hello, and welcome to the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, our favorite sportsbook, and we'll talk more about them in a bit. He's Clint. I'm Daniel. We are the Locked On Bulldogs podcast, and we are so thrilled to have you around on board for another fine week's worth of shows. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got a lot of things to discuss. And it is talking season, Clint.
Well, Daniel,
we're fully entrenched in talking season.
When there is less for my eyes and other people's eyes to consume football-wise, turns out that them jaws just be go.
Just get to flapping. We've never struggled. We've never struggled in this area, and I believe that we will excel this offseason as well. Sure. Alabama fans, we'll be coming for you in, 15 seconds on this podcast. So thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing if you're new to the channel. If you found us on YouTube, subscribe to the audio podcast as well. Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. Go follow, subscribe, leave a rating and review, download the show on audio. That helps us out a tremendous amount. If you like the show and want to support the channel, subscribe to all the platforms and download the show. That's really all that we ask you to do.
That's it. Pretty simple.
Clint, what are we talking about today? And why did I read the letters ESPN on the sheet? Clint, explain yourself. Explain yourself.
I have some explaining to do, and the explaining is ESPN is trash. There. That's
it's explained. Okay. Now I feel better now.
Point two, they're trash because they keep on making ludicrous takes like J.J. McCarthy is going to be a first-round quarterback. That's one of the things they've come up with in the past. And how about FPI? They just released their FPI, which is their power rankings, football power index for the college football season. And I'm going to give you, Daniel.
Who was the most powerful team last year in college football in case of... If I was
last
to
year
recall,
or the year before that?
Well, both years. You could list them separately or together, whichever you feel more comfortable doing.
I feel comfortable saying one word, and that's Georgia. It was Georgia for 2 years. But lo and behold, Daniel, lo and behold.
Here we are, and it's a brand new year.
It's a brand new year, and you can't repeat the defense that you had the year before.
Well, they lost so much talent, Clint. I hate to stop you so early in the podcast, but they've lost a tremendous amount of talent, Clint, on the defensive side of the ball.
That draft really took some people from the defensive side.
Wreaked havoc on the defensive side. What about the offensive side of the ball, Clint? They lost their heart and soul.
Their heart and soul, the quarterback who led them to a national championship. He gone. So
I'm sorry, I thought it was the quarterback who was carried to a national championship in spite of his poor play.
Okay, well.
Oh, we're changing that now? We're off
let's
that
go ahead
narrative?
and let's just...
Alabama fans, we're on to a new narrative now?
This is why I just love... Sports people live like goldfish memories. Sports writers... and just, if I didn't say it in the last 15 seconds, then I didn't say it at all. It never existed.
Correct.
Ever. Okay.
Not like us. We stand by all of our takes that we've ever made.
We stand by our takes, right or wrong. Again,
they're out there in front of God and everybody.
DeAndre Baker is not a lockdown corner, is what we said.
We said that. We were wrong about that.
We were so wrong.
Eric Stokes is not worthy of a first-round pick. We said that. We were wrong about that. Do you see how we were wrong about that? Do you see we were wrong? We do know some things though. We do get some takes right.
We do get some take right.
Why don't we do a whole episode just of every take we've ever had that was trash?
This is like the cathartic dumping, but in inverse. We're just taking it's projectile vomiting all the takes we've ever had.
Let us know in the comments or reach out to us on Twitter at Dawgs Podcast the worst take we've ever had.
Oh,
and
gosh, don't do that.
we'd love to hear. We'd love to hear about it. No, we would. I would love to read about it.
No, you wouldn't.
I mean, I don't read the comments, so it doesn't really matter. I don't know. It's just Alabama fans down there supporting the channel, which we appreciate. Alabama fans. Thank you for your patronage.
I hate you so much. I'm going to download and give you money.
Yeah, that's how they feel.
That's how they feel. ESPN, FPI. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about those numbers. I'm going to tease you. Segment 2 and 3, come back to it because loyal third segment listeners, we're going to get into the weeds a little bit about this FPI. But first, I want to let you know about FanDuel. FanDuel, the number one sports book experts. They are fantastic at
They do the thing.
The bets. The thing. And
everything that you want, they do it.
They do. Now, if what you want is betting on sports, which you
Sorry, that was implied.
You should want that because
strong implication.
Glorious.
It's
FanDuel
glorious.
is the place to go. FanDuel.com/locked-on. Right now, so much heading over there. NBA playoffs are in full swing.
Ooh, they are.
It is just a glorious, glorious time. And right now, you can get
a lot of sports action going on right now.
Is that what they call it?
A lot of sports action. Braves, your hometown Braves, did they just take 2 out of 3 from the upstart right Orioles?
You run on Ronald Acuna one more time for me. Go ahead.
MVP.
Go ahead. Oh, he the MVP.
Let me talk to you about running on Sean Murphy, though. Can I get an over-under on times that he lasers that ball down to second base?
How about MVP on that as well? How about
FanDuel Sportsbook, FanDuel.com/locked-on. Right now, you go over there. What Clint was trying to tell you is you make a bet. Your first bet up to $1,000. If the bet doesn't hit, you get the money back in bonus bets. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't hit. That's a no sweat first bet. That's what we like to call that in the biz. FanDuel.com/locked-on is the URL, the www, the web address. FanDuel.com/locked-on. If you're on YouTube, it's on the screen. If you're listening on audio, I think you can figure it out. FanDuel, the number one sportsbook and the official sportsbook partner of the Locked On Bulldogs and the Locked On Podcast Network. Make every moment more. All right, Clint, we're back.
Now let's talk about FPI. I want to get to the meat of this podcast. You know, the meat of this podcast is talking about Georgia football.
People love the banter.
They love the banter. Here, I'm going to give you the percentages that ESPN has. Okay. Chances of winning the SEC.
Okay, so this isn't like a rankings.
No.
I mean, the FPI is a rankings, but we're going next level.
We're going next level.
We're going to take those rankings, take the numbers, take the metrics, and now we've calculated, extrapolated odds of winning the SEC. Percentage chance to win the SEC. Well, this will be fascinating. Who won the SEC last year?
Well, Daniel, hold on. Let me think. It had to have been those Tigers, right?
Probably it was the Alabama Crimson Tide. They certainly won the West. Wow. Okay.
No. Didn't do that either.
Well, they didn't have a basketball player who was an accessory to capital murder. Like, we didn't do that.
Here we go.
Okay.
Here we go.
Oh, no. Well, they didn't have a baseball coach who was out there fixing college baseball games. Surely there wasn't that.
Did you see the tweet? Alabama reporter says, hey, just to let you know, there was no connection between player and betting.
None.
And anything that he bet did not have influence on the game.
Above reproach, the Alabama baseball program.
That's exactly right.
Mark Richt has lost control of the Alabama athletic department, if I'm honest.
Here's the FBI chance of winning the SEC. Number 6 is actually Ole Miss with 0.4%.
Okay. You said 6 best odds, and I was like, okay, Ole Miss, come get you some. 0.4%. That's not high.
The 5th best, Florida Gators.
No, stop.
0.5%.
Stop.
I'm not.
Stop.
I wish I could.
There is not a universe, a world a solar system in which Florida wins 8 games this year.
With the juice, with the money you're going to get back, you have a bet that you have to put on these two teams. Florida to win the SEC, and you got $100. Okay. Florida to win the SEC, or Kentucky to win the SEC.
I mean, I would just flush my $100 down the toilet, I guess, because it's the same bet. It's the exact same bet.
And that's saying something.
Vanderbilt to win the SEC.
Over under win totals, by the way, Vanderbilt, take the over.
South Carolina to win the Super Bowl. Same bet. It's the same bet. The Boston Celtics to win the Stanley Cup. It's the same bet. You can bet $100 on any of these things. It doesn't matter.
Number 4 on the list, Daniel.
Okay.
Tennessee at 1.2%.
They climbing. They're up there.
Number Tennessee. 3, we're starting now to really see the cream
get into
rise
somebody who's over 2%. Are we going to get over 2%? Okay. 2%. Here we go.
LSU. 7.1%. Now, Daniel.
Okay. No. Yeah.
They were literally in the SEC championship a year ago.
Ask me a question. Ask me a direct question about this.
Why is ESPN so stupid?
I can't answer hypothetical questions like that. It's philosophical. There's no way to calculate it. Let me just tell you this. That's too low for LSU. Number 1, LSU doesn't have the third best odds to win the SEC. They have the second best odds to win the SEC.
They have the second best. Now, but you said second best. So let's get to number 2 in the percentage associated. Alabama has a 40.9% chance of winning the SEC.
Okay.
Number 1, Georgia, 49.3% chance, essentially a coin flip if they're going to win the SEC. To win Daniel, I want to go to a more ludicrous understanding of all of this. I just said Alabama has the second best ranking, but in the FPI ranking, ESPN has them the second best team behind Ohio State. Ohio State 1, Alabama 2, Georgia 3.
Ahead of Georgia.
Ahead of Georgia, but Georgia has the best odds to win the SEC. And I guess in all of this, Daniel, what do you make of these odds?
I make a couple things.
Okay.
Number 1, I make that I think LSU's being severely disrespected.
Why are they only at 7%?
Because you look at the FPI and LSU is right there at 4 in the FPI. Has them ranked according to their metrics as the 4th best team in all of college football. Now they have Alabama grossly overranked as the 2nd best team, overrated, as Alabama is prone to be lately, incredibly overrated. They did put out a catchy little rap song, though, Clint. Were you able to catch that? Were you able to download that?
I hate my existence that I know what that is.
If you don't know what that is, it's the most embarrassing thing that's happened to the Alabama athletic department since Brandon Miller was an accessory to first-degree murder.
You can't define that as truth. My truth.
That's the court of law. I'm sorry. That's just a statement of litigation. That's just what actually was real. What actually happened.
It's obscene.
LSU's getting completely disrespected in this, in my opinion.
Really?
I think they've got a lot of returning talent.
Their quarterback, by the way.
I like the quarterback. I like what they've got returning at the skill positions. And I like Brian Kelly. Meanwhile, Alabama.
Say more.
Let's talk about the quarterback. Do they have a quarterback?
I want to talk about this in the third segment. Keep going, but I want to talk about this in the third segment. We're going to talk about how ludicrous this is, the overrated aspect of ESPN and the illogical sense they try to make from year in and year out. I'm going to talk about it in the third segment, but keep going.
Alabama, we just said LSU, we like their quarterback. Alabama, do we like their quarterback? No quarterback to be seen.
No.
Skill position talent. LSU, we like what we see, the skill position talent. Alabama, what are we dealing with here? We taking in transfers? We got Jermaine Burton still ringing the bell?
Reese said, I'm going to come to Alabama. Didn't bring the quarterback with him when he left. Spring being happens. All of a sudden, Tommy Reese says, hey, how you doing?
Hey, do you want to come play at Alabama. And coaching, who has the coaching advantage? Who has a decided schematic advantage in that matchup?
I'm telling y'all right now, if you don't think that Brian Kelly is quickly ascending to the best coach in the West, I hate to bring it to you, Bama fan. He's quickly ascending.
You might need instead of dreaming your dreams on the internet and like talking about Kirby Smart replacing Nick Saban, you might want to set your sights a little bit more realistic and see if you could woo Brian Kelly before he gets too settled in down there.
No, he's settled in. No, he's settled in.
In Baton Rouge.
We're going to come back after this. I'm going to talk about the lunacy that is the illogic of sports fandom right after this.
Daniel, what an intro. What a setup.
Here's my favorite thing. Okay. From year in to year out, again, the goldfish mentality of people. Alabama has this percentage, and I've been told this. This is what I was told as a Georgia fan. You might have depth everywhere. Depth everywhere. Defense, great.
That's fine.
Offense, you don't have wide receivers, and you don't have the most important thing. Without quarterback, you can't win anything.
You can't win anything. Well, that's why Georgia's going to be trash. Because we didn't have a quarterback last year. That's why we were going to be trash. And we lost that quarterback this year. That's why we're going to be trash.
Now, Georgia fans would have told you we were fine with our quarterback. We were more than happy. We went into the season taking a ticket along with the Weldon brothers, which, by the way, hey, Weldon brothers, how you doing? Check in with us. Thanks for being the 199. Thanks
Weldon
for being
brothers, where'd you go?
Where'd you go?
Where'd you go?
Okay, reach out to your boys. We took tickets on Heisman odds.
We did.
Okay. And
Kid went to New York.
I was just going to say, we were in the building. Okay. Now here's the problem. All of a sudden this year comes around. Alabama has a spring game. Quarterback situation, just a giant heap of smelly poo everywhere.
It is a turd sandwich.
Yes.
At Alabama's quarterback room right now.
So that's what's happening with the quarterback situation. And all of a sudden people are saying, ESPN, don't worry the depth.
Don't worry about it.
At Alabama.
Don't worry about
will carry the deficiency.
Just don't worry about it.
Of the quarterback.
Hey, I'll tell you what you should do. Just don't worry about it.
Now,
look over here. Don't look over there. Look over here. Look at the shiny object I'm holding right here.
Okay. This is the stupid lunacy of sports writers. Georgia has depth everywhere and a quarterback who can sling it. He slung it last year in limited game experience. We understand. We've said time and time again how he responds to an SEC environment will be the dictation of his entire success in Carson Beck. And by the way, it is Carson Beck. I know we won't know until game one, snap one. I get that. But let me tell you right now, it's Carson
Beck.
We
know.
Look at the spring game, please.
If you know, you know.
Brock Vandagriff was thinking about transferring because the spring game told him he's not playing this year. Okay, great. You look at Alabama. Well, let's... Yikes.
Sorry. That's another episode.
He's not wrong.
It's another episode, though.
It is. Alabama has a huge problem at quarterback. And if their high-flying offense with Tommy Reed is going to be successful, they need a quarterback slinging it around because we've been told you can't run through the SEC. We've been told you have to do it. And now, no, Alabama can. Well, Georgia has the high-powered offense and the high-powered defense and the skill positions and the quarterback. We have it all. One of the best offensive line cohesions that we've seen at UGA all the way through. Another first-round talent in Mims. Alabama does not have that, and they don't have a quarterback. It's lunacy that they are rated even above 35%. I would put them at 28, 30% to win the SEC, and I would put all the percentage points off of that I took from their time, and I'd put it all on LSU, and I'd take whatever little measly points you give to Florida, the half percentage there, and I'd put that on LSU as well. Daniel.
Yeah, it's a two-horse league in the SEC this year. Now, if we're talking about odds to make a New Year's Six Bowl as a 10-2 team,
go for it.
Give me Alabama. Give me that Crimson Tide. But if we're talking about odds to win the SEC,
Nah.
Because, listen, the ceiling,
say more,
is making it to Atlanta if you're Alabama. And let me just go ahead and give you an early May soundbite.
Here we
Alabama fan, you don't want to make it to Atlanta because What happens there is it's going to be decided. You understand? Like, it's going to be.
let me just ask you this: if your quarterback, if the depth everywhere else in your running game is going to be the thing that carries you, Georgia has been the number one defense against the run the last 3 years, and will be this year. And then you got all them boys who can pin their ears back and get after you.
It's not going to be good for you to make it to Atlanta.
It's going to be. It might be the final.
Uh-oh.
That's the nail in the coffin.
That's the dynasty dying. See, the thing is, it was dead already. That's the thing about dynasties is you don't know when they die.
No, I do.
Well,
I do.
We did. We did say it.
No, we said it.
No,
we said it. We're the new standard, is what I said. I said that 2 years ago.
If we do make it to Atlanta, can we do a crossover episode with Locked On Bama?
Needs to happen. I'm going to use. If we do a crossover with Alabama, do not play a drinking game where I say a shot for each time I say standard.
I'm gonna have to mute Clint's mic if this episode happens. It's gonna be tough.
This has been Locked On Bulldogs, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. We'll be back again talking them Bulldogs. We will see you guys next time.
See ya.